Hi, welcome to the Late Show. Today is our second episode, and I'm your host, Dr. Lau. So today we are going to talk about three concepts that you usually hear about, the words like mockups, MVPs, and beta. So usually if you go to any startup event, judging, or pitching sessions, they will always ask you about these three things. But what do they actually mean? Alright, let's have a look at it. So the first thing is actually the mockups. The mockup is usually the prototype that provides you the functionality of a system and enables us to test the design. If you look at the three icons that I put at the bottom, the first one is a sketch. So usually something that you draw on a paper using pen and pencils or on a piece of napkins where you just want to show your friends about, this is the idea that I have. The second one is a wireframe. So when it comes to the wireframe stage, usually we turn your sketches into digital drawing. So a wireframe is about where you actually place the different elements, the user profile picture, some of the buttons, some of the text box and image boxes. And the last one is actually the mockup. So mockups are usually what we use to test for your interactions and also the flow of your application. So the primary use of mockup is actually for us to acquiring feedbacks or early feedbacks from our users. So the three tools that you usually see where people use to do mockups, you can look at number one, the mockups.com. It comes with a lot of preset stencils, images that you can use. Just simply drag and drop. The second one is Envision app. So Envision app and Marvel app, the third one, is about the same thing. So they allow you to use the free tools to actually put the elements into work, or you can actually import PNGs or JPEG file that you have drawn so that you can use their apps to test the interaction. So mainly the mockups is for you to show your potential users how things work, the flow and interaction, make sure that they make sense and the users are actually getting what you're trying to do or you're trying to ask them to do. So when you move on or move beyond the mockup stage, you have done your mockup and your user testing, then the next thing is you're going to move into what we call the alpha stage. So alpha version is actually the product of your experimental phase. So it's for us to check whether you are building the right product before you go ahead and start building a full working product. So this is a case where you want to save your resources. You don't want to simply jump into coding, hire designers and hire programmers to build the whole thing, but you want to actually make sure that you are building the right product. So during the alpha stage, your product is definitely not that stable and you're always trying to make iterations, and the primary goal is actually to test how well our product can meet the actual user's need. So you want to know whether your product is solving the real problems, the actual pain of the users, then you go for your alpha version. So a good example of alpha version would be what we usually see, like Airbnb. If you look at it, it's just a very early versions. But it does what it does. So it gives you the standard things that you need to do, the price of the host, and then the text boxes on top that show you, allow them to input where they want to go, the check-in date, check-out date, so that they can do some simple search. And they don't even have a proper logo design, it's just called airbedandbreakfast.com. And this is actually for Airbnb to test. The main thing is whether their users willing to stay in other people's living room or not. So after they have moved beyond their alpha stage, usually you have some products. And that product is actually what we call a minimum viable product, an MVP. A MVP is a product which has just enough features. So your features might not be the full suite of features, but it's good enough. So you want to gather validated learnings about the product to prepare for your next iterations and also your subsequent improvement. The term MVP was actually first coined by Frank Robinson and has been widely used by a lot of different startup people like Steve Blank and Eric Ries. So the key idea is that an MVP only needs to have the smaller set of features for solving the core problems that your users are facing. By now, you should realize that whenever we are trying to build our product, I always recommend you to focus on the actual problems that you want to help your users to solve. That's the number one thing that you should always keep in mind. I give you an example of an MVP. So look at these photos, right? This is Spider-Man's MVP. Before he got his final product, which is his beautiful Spider-Man suit, that he actually used this as his MVP. Okay, so that is the MVP. It works, and it simply just works. It helped him to do what he wants to do. Although there are a lot of room for improvements, maybe for the UI, maybe for the UX, and that's where he is able to validate his product before he move on to the next iterations, right? And the last one is actually the beta version. So the beta phase begins when the software features are complete. So you know that most of the features that your users are asking for, they are already completed, right? But you know that there's still likely to be some bugs here and there. You can't fix them yet. You think that the bugs are not important. Oh, that's fine. But therefore you call it a beta version. So the beta version is actually the first time that your software you think is available for outside of private testing. So sometimes for existing products or application, we also like consider beta as a technical preview. So you try to add some new features, but you're not sure that whether everybody will like it or everybody knows how to use it. And you launch it as a technical preview, a beta. You give your customers an early access of your upcoming new features. So some applications are famous for keeping themselves in beta stage all the time, where new features and functionalities are constantly added until the final release. So I give you an example. So before Gmail actually taken off their beta tag, they have been in beta stage for quite a while. This is what Larry Page said in 2005. He said, we could take the beta of all our products tomorrow, but we wouldn't actually have accomplished anything. So it's on there for 5 years because we think that we're going to make major changes for 5 years, and that's fine. It's really a messaging and a branding thing. So at least you give your user, you set their expectations to know that, okay, alright, this is a beta version. You expect to have some sort of bugs, and you're welcome to report the bugs to us, and we'll work on it. So it's mainly for you to set the expectation of your users so that they wouldn't complain that much, I would say. So that's it for this episode. So next time, if you go for any of the startup events, now you know that, okay, so you're talking about MVP, and then the judges or someone want to invest in your product, they will ask you, so what stage are your product in? You can comfortably tell them which stage are you in, so they'll be impressed, and you wouldn't want to over-promise and then under-deliver, alright? This is the last thing that you wanted to happen. So as usual, if you have any questions, leave a comment or feel free to reach us through any of the methods that I show here. Thank you, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.